Interesting times on tonight's headlines. 16 U.S. states sue President Trump's administration over his decision to declare a national emergency to fund the wall on the southern border with Mexico, saying the move violated the Constitution. Japanese auto giant Honda announced it will shut a major plant in Britain in what the government calls a devastating blow that will put 3,500 jobs at risk. Pakistan is ready to help India investigate the deadliest attack in Kashmir in decades, but will retaliate if Delhi attacks, Prime Minister Imran Khan says, as tensions between the nuclear-armed rivals soar. And the Church of Christ's, or Iglesia ni Cristo's Aid to Humanity, warms the hearts in Norfolk, Virginia. I'm Alma Angeles, wherever you're watching from around the world. Thank you very much for joining us. And now to the news. Sixteen U.S. states sue President Donald Trump's administration over his decision to declare a national emergency to fund the wall on the southern border with Mexico, saying the move violated the Constitution. Trump announced the emergency Friday in order to bypass Congress, which approved only a quarter of the $5.6 billion he wanted for the wall in a spending bill.
So we're going to be signing today and registering national emergency. And it's a great thing to do, because we have an invasion of drugs, invasion of gangs, invasion of people, and it's unacceptable. I expect to be sued. I shouldn't be sued. Very rarely do you get sued when you do national emergency. And then other people say, oh, if you use it for this, now what are we using it for? We've got to get rid of drugs and gangs and people. It's an invasion. We have an invasion of drugs and criminals coming into our country that we stop, but it's very hard to stop. With a wall, it would be very easy. So I think that we will be very successful in court. I think it's clear.
I'm pleased by the comments of the Attorney General, and I'm grateful for his leadership. And I'm certainly very supportive of our efforts to sue the administration and to see the President in court. The actual work that was effective, the actual work that is responsible and responsive to the real and legitimate concerns around fentanyl and methamphetamine, heroin, and cocaine that is being done within the state of California is now being put at risk for a vanity project, for a monument to stupidity, a wall that will do nothing to impact drugs coming over our border.
The President does not have power to act frivolously, taking the powers of this 240-plus year democracy and using them in ways that were never intended. He has the power to declare a national emergency. But this is not 9/11. This is not the Iran hostage crisis of 1979. This is a president showing his disdain for the rule of law and our U.S. Constitution.
California, Colorado, Connecticut, Delaware, Hawaii, Illinois, Maine, Maryland, Michigan, Minnesota, Nevada, New Jersey, New Mexico, New York, Oregon, and Virginia are party to the complaint seeking an injunction. California is leading the suit, and the procedure was filed in one of its federal courts. The White House says the emergency order empowers it to pull around $6.6 billion from other sources, mostly already allocated funds in the Defense Department budget. But the lawsuit countered that tapping military funds would result in huge losses for the state's National Guard units, which would otherwise use the money for domestic drug interdiction and counter-drug activities, as well as for law enforcement programs. The complaint added that the Department of Homeland Security had violated the National Environmental Policy Act by failing to evaluate the environmental impact of the wall in California and New Mexico, saying species such as the endangered Mexican gray wolf and the jaguar would be at risk. In other news, U.S. President Donald Trump urged Venezuela's military to accept opposition leader Juan Guaido's amnesty offer or stand to lose everything. Take a listen.
Or you can choose the second path, continuing to support Maduro. If you choose this path, you will find no safe harbor, no easy exit, and no way out. You will lose everything.
President Trump urged Venezuela's military to accept opposition leader Juan Guaido's amnesty offer or stand to lose everything as a crisis deepened over President Nicolas Maduro's refusal to let in desperately needed humanitarian aid. He has given the Maduro government until Saturday to let the shipments into the country, which is in the grip of a humanitarian crisis due to shortages of food and medicine exacerbated by hyperinflation. Addressing supporters and Venezuelan expatriates in Miami, Trump declared he had a message for officials helping keep Maduro in place.
And today I have a message for every official who is helping to keep Maduro in place. The eyes of the entire world are upon you today, every day, and every day in the future. You cannot hide from the choice that now confronts you. You can choose to accept President Guaido's generous offer of amnesty to live your life in peace with your families and your countrymen. Maduro is not a Venezuelan patriot. He is a Cuban puppet. That's what he is. For decades, the socialist dictatorships of Cuba and Venezuela have propped each other up in a very corrupt bargain. Venezuela gave Cuba oil. In return, Cuba gave Venezuela a police state run directly from Havana.
Now, Trump reiterated his full backing of Mr. Guaido as the country's rightful leader during the address. He said that he still sought a peaceful transition between the leaders, but reiterated that all options are open. The president also described a twilight hour for socialism on the continent. He expressed his hope that Nicaragua and Cuba could follow behind.
Today, more than 50 countries around the world now recognize the rightful government of Venezuela. And the Venezuelan people have spoken, and the world has heard their beautiful voice. They are turning the page on socialism, turning the page on dictatorship, and there will be no going back. Today, more than 50 countries around the world now recognize the rightful government.
Meanwhile, Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro said that 300 tons of humanitarian aid will arrive from Russia and reacted to U.S. President Trump's speech to the Venezuela's military, urging them to accept opposition leader Juan Guaido's amnesty offer, saying that his country's armed forces are prepared to respond.
El miércoles llega 300 toneladas de ayuda y asistencia humanitaria de Rusia. Legalmente llegan por el aeropuerto de Maiquetía, convertidas en medicina de alto costo para la ayuda del pueblo. Eso sí, la hemos pagado con nuestra mano ahí. Hoy estuvo Donald Trump en Miami con una retórica cansada, cuestionando el derecho de nuestro país libre de adoptar las ideas del socialismo humano, cristiano, de nuestro socialismo, casi con un discurso al estilo nazi para prohibir las ideologías. Ellos se creen con su prepotencia y su desprecio a nosotros, se creen dueños del país, y Donald Trump se cree en la potestad de dar órdenes y que la Fuerza Armada Nacional Bolivariana le va a cumplir las órdenes a él. Es una ofensa a la dignidad, a la vergüenza. Y la Fuerza Armada Nacional Bolivariana, como le he dicho al general Padrino, está autorizada para responderle con toda la moral de nuestra Fuerza Armada Nacional Bolivariana. ¿Alguien le puede creer que él ama mucho a Venezuela? ¿Qué es lo que ama Donald Trump de Venezuela? Petróleo, el coltán, el oro, los diamantes, el gas, se le ponen los ojos así. 100 toneladas de ayuda y asistencia humanitaria de Rusia legalmente.
In other news, Prime Minister Imran Khan says Pakistan will retaliate if Delhi attacks after the deadliest attack in Kashmir in decades, but hopes for discussion to resolve tensions between the nuclear-armed rivals. Let's listen in.
सिखाया जाए। अगर आप ये समझते हैं कि आप पाकिस्तान के ऊपर कुछ किसी किस्म का हमला करेंगे, पाकिस्तान रिटेलिएट करने का सोचेगा नहीं, पाकिस्तान रिटेलिएट करेगा। पाकिस्तान कोई और दूसरा रास्ता नहीं होगा रिटेलिएट करने के बगैर, जवाब देने के बगैर। इसलिए मैं ये उम्मीद रखता हूं कि बेटर सेंस विल प्रिवेल, हम इसमें अकल करेंगे, हिकमत इस्तेमाल करेंगे, और ये मसला जो आखिर में हल होगा जिस तरह अफगानिस्तान में, ये भी डायलॉग और बातचीत से हल होगा।
The former cricket hero went on to demand Delhi share proof of Islamabad's involvement in last week's suicide blast in Indian-held Kashmir, which killed at least 41 Indian paramilitaries. He spoke days after the attack was claimed by Pakistan-based militant group Jaish-e-Mohammed, unleashing a war of words between the arch-rivals and spurring both countries to recall their respective envoys. India, whose leader Narendra Modi faces elections in coming weeks, has accused Islamabad of harboring the militants and vowed the terrorist groups and their masters have to pay a heavy price. Pakistan has denied involvement, and Khan vowed on Tuesday that if any militant group was using Pakistani soil to launch attacks, quote, its enmity is with us. This is against our interests. In other news, Taiwan's President Tsai Ing-wen has confirmed she will seek re-election next year, despite falling ratings and an increasingly strained relationship with China. Tsai, who was elected in 2016 as the island's first female leader, told CNN she wanted to complete her vision for Taiwan in an interview on board her presidential jet released on Tuesday. Tsai, 62 years old, won a landslide victory 2 years ago to defeat the ruling Beijing-friendly Kuomintang or KMT party, which oversaw an unprecedented thaw in cross-strait ties, but began to unnerve many voters with its perceived coziness to the mainland. The result rattled Beijing because Tsai, who hails from the independent's leading Democratic Progressive Party or DPP, refuses to acknowledge that the self-ruled island is part of one China. She reached out to the mainland's leadership after her election to seek talks, but was rebuffed. Instead, Beijing cut communication with her administration, stepped up military drills, and poached several of Taiwan's dwindling diplomatic allies. Her popularity at home has waned considerably, primarily a backlash to domestic policies such as much-needed public sector pension reforms and a push for gay marriage rights that incensed and galvanized conservatives. President Duterte has signed into law a bill institutionalizing a national integrated program to control cancer, one of the leading causes of death in the Philippines. Duterte signed Republic Act number 11215, now also known as the National Integrated Cancer Control Act, on February 14. The program also aims to lessen the incidence of preventable cancer, prevent cancer recurrence, provide timely access to optimal cancer treatment and care, make treatment affordable and accessible, and eliminate various forms of burden on patients and their families. Under the new law, the Department of Health is tasked to provide early and sufficient access to cancer medicines and ensure highest possible chance of survival among people with cancer. The DOH and local government units are expected to strengthen the capabilities of public health care systems and facilities in dealing with cancer. A Philippine Cancer Center and regional cancer centers will be established to strengthen the specialization and research on cancer treatment. The new law created the Cancer Assistance Fund, which will support the Cancer Medicine and Assistance Treatment Program. The DOH is also mandated under the new law to provide subsidies and scholarships for the training of oncology professionals. For most people around the world, having a job doesn't mean economic security, and new technology is making the situation worse. Now, these are some of the main takeaways from the latest World Employment and Social Outlook report from the International Labor Organization, or ILO. It says that the majority of the 3.3 billion people employed worldwide last year lacked sufficient material well-being and had too few opportunities for advancement. The unemployment rate has now dropped to levels seen before the financial crash that began in 2008. But the ILO says that workers' conditions have not improved, and some businesses driven by new technology threaten to undermine hard-won social gains of recent decades. Now, what are the key findings of the ILO's World Employment and Social Outlook Trends 2019 report? Stefan Kun and Erica Chaparro Perez, economists from the ILO's Research Department, explain.
Work is important to societies because it provides the main source of income for the vast majority of people.
However, having a job does not always guarantee a decent living.
In 2018, more than 1/4 of workers in low and middle income countries were living in extreme or moderate poverty, despite having work.
On a positive note, this working poverty has decreased greatly over the past 3 decades in middle income countries. However, in low-income countries, the actual number of working poor is expected to rise.
Also, in 2018, an estimated 172 million people were unemployed worldwide, which corresponds to an unemployment rate of 5.0%.
This global unemployment rate should remain at roughly the same level in 2019 and 2020, but vary greatly between countries.
In addition to unemployment, the report raises concern about other forms of labor underutilization. Examples of this include people, often women, who want to work more than the part-time hours they currently have,
as well as people who have become so discouraged that they've stopped looking for work altogether.
All these challenges related to the quality of work, unemployment and gender inequality make it much harder to meet the targets of the Sustainable Development Goals.
SDG 8 is not just about full employment, but also the quality of that employment.
Equality and decent work are the foundations of sustainable development.
To get the full portrait or the world of work today, check out the ILO's new report, World Employment and Social Outlook Trends 2019.
All right, the year's biggest supermoon is here. February's full moon, known as a super snow moon, will be the brightest of 2019. Take a look. First 3 months of the year. A packed lunar calendar for 2019, which marks the 50th anniversary of Apollo 11, the mission that took the first humans to the moon. It will make the moon appear unusually large when it rises and sets, And like most lunar events, is sure to draw amateur stargazers around the world. Now, the supermoon will occur during this full moon because it will be closest in its orbit to Earth. Technically, the supermoon will reach its peak on Tuesday morning at 15:54 a.m. ET, but it won't be visible then. Instead, keep an eye out later in the day. Moonrise will be the best time for those interested in capturing dramatic supermoon photos because the moon will be closest to the horizon. The moon looking deceptively large is known as a moon illusion, which occurs when the moon is close to the horizon and objects such as buildings or trees are in front of it for scale, which tricks our brains into thinking that the moon is closer to the objects than it really is. Now, each month, the full moon carries a different name, signifying what is most associated with that time. That is because centuries ago, lunar months were associated with the changing seasons rather than the solar year. Native Americans and Europeans gave February the snow moon title because it was the month associated with heavy snowfall. That is according to the Old Farmer's Almanac. February's moon has also been called the bone or hunger moon due to the lack of food available in the winter. Now, Israel is to launch its first moon mission this week, sending an unmanned spacecraft to collect data to be shared with NASA, according to organizers. The 585-kilogram Bearsheet or Genesis spacecraft is to lift off atop a Falcon 9 rocket from Cape Canaveral, Florida at around 1:45 GMT on Friday. Israel Aerospace Industries and Technology NGO SpaceIL announced the date at a press conference. Mission control will be in Yehud near Tel Aviv. So far, only Russia, the United States, and China have sent spacecraft to the moon. The Chinese craft made the first ever soft landing on the far side of the moon last January 3. Now, NASA, which has installed equipment on Genesis to upload its signals from the moon, said last week it aims to land an unmanned vehicle there by 2024, and it's inviting private sector bids to build the U.S. probe. NASA plans to build a small space station dubbed Gateway in the moon's orbit by 2026. It'll serve as a way station for trips to and from the lunar surface, but will not be permanently crewed. Genesis will make its 6.5 million kilometer journey at a maximum speed of 10 kilometers per second, according to an IAI statement. It will carry a time capsule loaded with digital files containing a Bible, children's drawings, Israeli songs, memories of a Holocaust survivor, and the blue and white Israeli flag. The $100 million project will measure the lunar magnetic field to help understand the moon's formation.
By what we're doing and achieving this objective with the limited resources that we have and the limited finances we had, I think we show the Israeli ingenuity, we show our initiative, and we've developed technology, which I think is going to be important. I think we're going to take Israel into space.
January 13, 2018 will be a date still unforgettable for Hawaii's residents and tourists. Now, that morning, an alert came through mobile devices and on TV screens warning everyone that an incoming ballistic missile was imminent and that this was not a drill, when in fact the warning turned out to be a false alarm. Our Hawaii correspondent Mio Senas has a report on how some have coped with this horrifying experience 1 year later. Take a look.
You know, if this is true, then maybe this is a good way to go. Maybe this is the end of my life and I'm in Hawaii and it's beautiful and, you know, maybe I've accomplished enough. And
we were sitting there finishing breakfast, having coffee, and I couldn't believe this could be the end of the world.
This is what I remember on January 13, 2018. We were supposed to pick up our mom at the airport that Saturday morning, until my dad told me and my brothers to hurry on downstairs and hide in here. We had no idea what was going on at the time. But even after a year later, many of us still remember where we were and what we were doing on that dreadful day.
I was in Hawaii at this park, Makapu'u Lighthouse Trail, and we were there for a vacation for a friend's wedding, and a bunch of us decided to go on like a sunrise hike up that trail.
At around 8:07 a.m., Hawaii's Emergency Management Agency issued an alert to all mobile devices and TV stations that a ballistic missile was inbound, and that an attack on Hawaiian soil would be imminent.
A bunch of cell phones were going off saying that, there was a ballistic missile that North Korea was going to send over to Hawaii. And it was multiple cell phones, and almost everyone on the trail got that alert. A lot of people were starting to freak out. There were a lot of tourists on the trail, not knowing where to go. And then there was a woman with a lot of children running down the hill, trying to go to her car, see where they could go. People around me started calling their families to see if they were okay, and tell them like what to do if this is something that would happen. And a lot of people just sort of they were in a panic mode.
While most people throughout the state immediately looked for shelter to hide, there were some who were already skeptical about the warning.
Morning, I said, there's something wrong with this picture. I don't think that we're under a major attack at this time. Friends called my wife in a panic in our same building that we live in, and I was saying, no, I really don't think that this is a real alert for missiles being fired upon us.
First I questioned if it was true, and if it is true, then where would we go for safety was my first question, because where we were at that moment, it didn't seem like there was a safe place that we could think of.
And just how did Dale and Janelle react when they realized that the missile warning was a false alarm?
There were a lot of people who were really upset when they found out that the warning was false, and we just didn't understand how a false alarm could have gotten out and why, why that happened, because a lot of people were panicking. But at the same time, we were so happy and relieved that it wasn't true, and that we didn't have to panic or hide or anything like that. So
various texts from people saying, what do you think about this situation? And I just downplayed the whole thing, not thinking that it was real at all. But I was surprised how long it took the state of Hawaii to respond with an all-clear signal. Oops, sorry, we made a mistake.
And how did the rest of 2018 go for them after this frightening experience?
The rest of 2018, after realizing that moment when I thought I was going to die and I didn't, I learned to appreciate and be more thankful for everything that I have, and just live life to my fullest, because you never know what can happen at any time, anywhere.
As for me, we were still able to pick up our mom at the airport, and life for us went on well after that. As for the state government, several key leaders were removed from their positions. Governor David Ige nearly lost his job, but still won re-election last November. There are currently no tests for ballistic missile warnings until further notice. Reporting from Honolulu, Hawaii, I'm Mio Asenas, 1 with 25.
Eagle News International will be right back. Stay tuned.
Huli na MTRCB ang mag-provide na appropriate ratings sa lahat ng TV shows. Para ugaliin ng pamilya ang responsableng panonood. Teamwork tayo, parents!
Rated G, good for all. Oops, rated PG. Dapat may mga magulang para sagutin ang mga tanong ng kabataan. Grabe, rated SPG, maselan!
Higpitan ang paggabay.
Pag rated MTRCB, rated responsable.
The rice tariffication will be implemented by March 5 this year, since the issuance of its implementing rules and regulations. Finance Secretary Carlos Dominguez III told reporters that there are parts of the law that are clear up front and can be implemented earlier than the parts of the law that require an IRR to implement. So the heart of the reform, he said, which tariffies rice importation with the least government intervention, will be implemented ASAP to bring down rice prices for more than 100 million Filipino rice consumers. President Duterte signed into law several measures last February 14, including the Rice Tariffication Bill, which is now known as Republic Act 11203 or the Rice Tariffication Act. Rice tariffication aims to bring down the cost of rice by allowing higher volume of importation, a change from the use of the minimum access volume or MAV. Under the newly signed law, tariff will be based on bound rates, which are 35% for all imports from the Association of Southeast Asian Nations or ASEAN, 40% for in quota or within MAV from non-ASEAN, and 180% for out quota and non-ASEAN or as calculated by the Tariff Commission.
Well, dati po kasi under the quantitative restriction regime ay yung mga may import license lang po na binibigay ng NFA ang maaring mag-angkat ng bigas. So now, under the tariffied regime, anybody who is able to secure a phytosanitary and sanitary permit, which essentially means wala pong sakit, walang peste, yung kanilang ipinapasok na bigas, ay maaring mag-angkat ng bigas. Basta po babayaran nila yung karampatang buwis, no, the import tariff, which is set at 35% for ASEAN countries, any quantity. For the MAV, yung ating minimum access volume or our promise to the international community in terms of how much we will import. Kung nasa loob po ng MAV, yung importation, ay nasa 40% kung non-ASEAN country, yung tariff rate, at nasa 180% yung tariff rate kung lagpas po sa MAV. In effect, ang mangyayari po nito ay tatlong bagay. Una, bababa po ang presyo ng bigas sa ating mga retail markets from 2 to 7 pesos per kilo. Yan po ang estimate natin. Pangalawa, mayroon po tayong taripa na ikokolekta. Ang estimate po natin dyan ay 7 to 11 billion pesos in the first year for a full year implementation. Ngayon, regardless of how much we collect, 10 billion pesos has been earmarked by the rice tariffication law para po sa enhanced productivity and the competitiveness of our rice farmers. So 50% of 10 billion for mechanization, several billion for rice seeds na mas malago, ang ani, more resilient to climate change, more resilient to pests and disease. At saka meron po tayong credit facility with very low interest rates to be implemented by Land Bank and DBP, at iba pa pong mga training programs at extension support services. So ang full 10 billion is the minimum that has been earmarked for our rice farmers for at least the next 6 years. And then Congress will review the program kung i-extend, i-expand, o kung ano po ang decision nila after 6 years. The third thing that we will gain is lower inflation rate. Dahil po ang estimate ng Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas ay with a full year of tariffication, bababa po ang ating inflation rate by 0.6 percentage points, which brings us within the target inflation range of 2 to 4% by 2019. In fact, the latest point estimate of BSP is 3.2% for 2019.
Senator Sherwin Gatchalian expressed his gratitude to President Duterte for signing into law a measure allowing mobile phone users to retain their numbers for life even when they switch service providers. The President signed the Mobile Number Portability Act, or Republic Act number 11202 on February 14. The Senator said the signing of the new law before the start of the third telco's operations will spur competition and break the duopoly in the telecom industry by removing a potential barrier for subscribers not to patronize the new entrant because they cannot keep the same mobile number. Under the new law, subscribers can shift from one network to another without changing the number free of charge. The founder of Chinese telecom giant Huawei has hit back at U.S. efforts to blacklist the company, saying defiantly that the world cannot do without Huawei and its more advanced technology. He said there's no way the U.S. can crush us, Ren Zhengfei said in an interview with the BBC. He said the world cannot leave us because we are more advanced. Ren, 74 years old, also denounced as politically motivated the December arrest of his daughter, Huawei Chief Financial Officer Meng Wanzhou, who is accused of violating U.S. sanctions against Iran and faces an extradition hearing in Canada next month. He said, "We object to this," he added, "but now that we've gone down this path, we'll let the courts settle it." The normally media-shy Huawei founder has been forced to step into the limelight in recent months as the company has come under increasing pressure over espionage concerns and the U.S.-led campaign to persuade other countries to ban its technology. Last year, security concerns prompted Australia to ban Huawei equipment from its future 5G network. New Zealand has also blocked its largest telecom carrier from using Huawei technology for the next generation network, while the Czech Republic has reportedly excluded it from a €20 million tender to build a tax portal. U.S. prosecutors are also charging Huawei with stealing trade secrets, saying it offered rewards to employees for stealing technology from other rivals. Ren shrugged off the growing pressure and was confident that his company would survive the assault. He said if the lights go out in the West, the East will still shine. He said America doesn't represent the world. And then he added, even if they persuade more countries not to use us temporarily, we can always downsize and become smaller. Honda announced it would shut a major plant in Britain, putting 3,500 jobs at risk as the auto manufacturer became the latest Japanese firm to downsize operations as Brexit looms. The factory in Swindon, southwest England, is Honda's only EU plant and has produced the manufacturer's Civic model for more than 24 years, with 150,000 units rolling off the line annually. The plant will shut in 2021, Honda announced, at the end of the current model's production life cycle. The decision, quote, has not been taken lightly, and we deeply regret how unsettling today's announcement will be for our people, said Katsushi Inoue, Chief Officer for European Regional Operations, in a statement. The firm blamed unprecedented changes in the global automotive industry for the decision, but it comes amid investment uncertainty in Britain ahead of the country's exit from the EU. Swindon residents reacted with dismay.
Well, I think it's devastating for Swindon. I think Swindon's finished without Honda. That's my opinion. Yeah, my ex-husband works there, has done for 20 years. He's going to be without a job. So I just think it's really, really bad news.
Well, it's bad news, obviously. I assume it will be allotted to Brexit, which isn't a good thing. Car industries in general seem to be moving away from the country. I know we haven't left as yet, but companies are getting ready beforehand. So it's not just a case of waiting for a deal to be made. Companies are already making their plans, unfortunately.
Yes, lot of people I know personally who work there, and I think it's gonna be difficult for them. So I think government should do something here to save those jobs. Or
Seven MPs from Britain's opposition Labour Party announced they're breaking away and forming an independent group in protest of the party's support for Brexit and its failure to stamp out anti-Semitism. Take a look.
We have all now resigned from the Labour Party. This has been a very difficult, painful, but necessary decision. We represent different parts of the country. We are of different backgrounds. We were born of different generations, but we all share the same values. From today, we will all sit in Parliament as a new independent group of MPs.
I am sickened that the Labour Party is now a racist, anti-Semitic party. I'm furious that the Labour leadership is complicit in facilitating Brexit, which will cause great economic, social and political damage to our country. Jeremy Corbyn and those around him are on the wrong side on so many international issues, from Russia to Syria to Venezuela.
Choosing to stand by while our constituents' lives and future opportunities are hurt by Brexit is a fundamental violation of Labour's traditional values. But our differences go far deeper than Brexit. The past 3 years have confirmed how irresponsible it would be to allow this leader of the opposition to take the office of Prime Minister of the United Kingdom.
It is time we dumped this country's old-fashioned politics and created an alternative that does justice to who we are today and gives this country a politics fit for the here and now, the 21st century, not the last one.
Join us here today. We would also like to extend our condolences.
Years ago, to elect
form a breakaway independent group in Parliament and expect others to join them, not only from Labour but from other parties too. It's the most serious split in British politics since the so-called Gang of Four heavyweight Labour moderates quit to form the Social Democratic Party in 1981, with 28 Labour MPs eventually joining. The rebel MPs recounted their difficult journey towards leaving Labour, saying the party had changed since Jeremy Corbyn became leader in 2015 and there was no longer space for their centre-left views.
An alternative.
The President of the EU Commission, Jean-Claude Juncker, will host British Prime Minister Theresa May on Wednesday for talks on the Brexit crisis. Juncker's spokesman, Margaritis Chinas, told reporters that the pair would meet at the European Union's headquarters at 6:30 p.m. local time. Saudi Arabia and Pakistan signed a raft of investment deals worth up to $20 billion for the cash-strapped South Asian country as Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman launches his Asia tour, seeking to emerge from the Khashoggi affair. Take a look.
कुरैशी और मिनिस्टर ऑफ कॉमर्स सऊदी अरब के जो हैं उनके दरमियान टेक्निकल
Pakistan and Saudi Arabia are now taking this relationship to a level which we never had before. A relationship where
And the news continues here on Eagle News International. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
latest news and information here and abroad. In Aguila, Balita, track the latest happenings in the provinces in Aguila, Provincia. Be aware of important events in Asia, in ASEAN in Focus, and be updated in the biggest news around the world in Eagle News International. Tune into Mata ng Agila and get the day's headlines and news that are sharp, accurate, and objective. Only here at Net 25.
The fashion world is in mourning after the death of Chanel mogul Karl Lagerfeld. He missed two Chanel shows in Paris on January 22, his first ever in the history of his three-decade reign at the iconic fashion house. The designer had been unwell for several weeks and had missed a number of fashion shows. Many fashion industry heavyweights have paid tribute to Lagerfeld, including Italian designer Donatella Versace. He was born Karl Otto Lagerfeld in 1933. In pre-war Germany, Lagerfeld changed his original surname from Lagerfeld because he believed it sounded more commercial. He emigrated to Paris as a young teenager and became a design assistant for Pierre Balmain before working at the Fendi and Chloe in the 1960s. He began his long career with Chanel in 1983. A decade after Coco Chanel died, the following year he launched his own name label. While no official cause of death has yet been given, a spokesperson for his side project, the Karl Lagerfeld fashion line, said the company wished him a quick recovery from his bad cold. Rumors of ill health first began circulating in 2017 when Chanel's 2018 resort show was staged in Paris as opposed to its usual far-flung location. Francis Manalili takes us to a winter garden in Germany. Francis?
Hi everyone, I'm Francis Manalili from the Germany Bureau. Right now we are in the middle of winter season here in Frankfurt. This is definitely the coldest season of the year, which is often described as very dark and dull. But today, we will visit the Winterlegs exhibition, made to brighten the residents' day even in the darkest winter hour. Every year the exhibition takes place in the Palmengarten. The hundreds of lights illuminate the beautiful botanical garden. By using light projectors and sound systems, the garden is transformed into a fascinating art show. There's so much to see here, from water fountains to artwork and even scary stuff. All these installations are made by the German artist Wolfgang Thomas. According to the artist himself, his aim is simple, for the visitor to enjoy the art show and leave the Palmengarten with a smile. This particular art piece marks the highlight of the exhibition. It is described by the artist as avians or guardians of time who watch over the entire exhibition. Such a magical experience, isn't it? Being surrounded by vivid colors definitely brings joy and leave you with a warm, fuzzy feeling. I totally don't mind the shorter days anymore. I'm Francis Manalili and I'm one with 25.
Kevin Durant scored 31 points, picked up the MVP award as Team LeBron rallied from a 20-point deficit to outgun Team Giannis 178-164 in the 2019 NBA All-Star Game on Sunday. Here's EBC Sports correspondent Norman Castro. Norman?
As day turns to night, the stars will shine bright here at the Spectrum Center in Charlotte. Team Giannis versus Team LeBron in a showdown that will surely lead to some amazing highlights. Let's step inside and see what the best of the best have in store for the fans.
The 68th annual NBA All-Star Game gave fans much excitement to cheer about.
One more time for Meek Mill and your 2000
debuts, and here we go, 68th All-Star.
From first-time All-Stars to legendary players plus family reunions and action-packed scoring, both Team LeBron and Team Giannis did not disappoint the sold-out crowd.
3-pointers.
Team LeBron stormed back from a 20-point deficit to top Team Giannis 178-164. Kevin Durant was named MVP, finishing the game with 31 points and 7 rebounds.
Another all-star game in the books as the best players from both conferences showcased why they are the best. Stay tuned for more NBA coverage by tuning in to EBC Sports. I am Norman Castro, 1 with 25.
With Team Giannis, the head coach, Prime.
Iglesia de Cristos, or Church of Christ's Aid to Humanity, warmed the hearts of people in Norfolk, Virginia. Our EBC correspondent Heather Canlas reports from Virginia.
Free medical checkups, free clothing, free food, and free entertainment. All these are happening today here at the Military Circle Mall in Norfolk, Virginia, where the Iglesia de Cristo is holding an Aid to Humanity event, reaching out to hundreds of residents.
So far we have more than 400 people, guests, who have actually arrived. Not all of them registered, and we still have people coming in, availing of the services and goods that we provided. One of the reasons why we help the people here in Norfolk, Virginia is because this is a low-income community, a neighborhood that's seen its up and downs. Some of them are unemployed right now. A lot of these people are from shelters and they don't have a place to stay. Some of them are actually homeless. And so providing for them, even just a little that we can give, goes a long way, especially when it comes to basic necessities such as food and clothing. Especially this time of the year here in Virginia, it's very cold. And so a lot of the clothing are winter clothing and jackets for our friends and guests.
We are definitely a huge military town, and we saw it during the holidays where the sales were a little declined, where more people were not able to shop like they would normally shop. So it's definitely affecting Hampton Roads, and you can see it with sale declines. Oh, it's a major help. You know, you not either. We have so many hundreds and hundreds of homeless people here, thousands, and for them to be able to come to this event and get those things, and not have a lot of people who don't have health insurance, they're able to get the free medical screenings. That's amazing.
It's a very, very sad time for the country. A lot of people are getting their power cut off, not able to pay their rent, not able to put food on the table, and it's just a very, very sad time for our country right now.
It'll help a lot of people have something to do, you know, look forward to doing something, you know. It's bad out here now, you know, the struggle is real.
It brings people together for one, it feeds them, it gives them clothes. This time of the year it's pretty bad outside. So with guys like you bringing this to the community, it really helps out. It gives hope to people.
It helps the community tremendously because, like I say, a lot of people don't have paychecks coming in. Anytime they can get food, clothes, especially when you have little ones involved, it's very beneficial. And I don't think the government looks at events like this like they should. Most definitely, anything that benefits the community benefits everybody in the long run.
Oh, I love the events like this because it's a community. It brings everybody together. And I really believe we all need to join together. We need to stick together.
Oh, we have a lot, like the goodies, the canned goods, the toiletries. We also give out medical services and also food.
The Aid for Humanity activity that we are doing today
we are united with the entire church throughout the entire world. Every district around the world, whether we're in the Philippines, America, Europe, we're conducting this all around the world so that we can help the people around the church, around in our community. We're not only helping the people here by giving them free food, free clothing, free care packages, but we're also bringing life to this mall. This mall hasn't seen this many people before in years.
Similar outreach events like what's being held here today is happening all around the globe, sponsored by the INC's A2 Humanity Project. From Norfolk, Virginia, I am Heather Canlis, and I am 1 with 25.
Thank you, Heather, and that's it for tonight's broadcast. For everyone here on Eagle News International, I'm Alma Angeles, always 1 with 25. Good night.